Let me turn to our next speaker.
연구원의 이제 그
So the second speaker is the Mr. Bum-Keun from Korea Food Research Institute, and he will be talking about the blue food technology. Especially, he has been heavily engaged in developing the so-called elderly-friendly food. I would like to invite him to the stage. Please welcome him with a big hand. Good morning. Very nice to see you. I have an updated version for my presentation, but I think that the presentation on the screen is a bit outdated. So can I replace it with the newer version? So, as introduced, I am Bum-Keun from Korea Food Research Institute. What I am going to present today is the consumer-oriented blue food technology. So, for the general food industry, in fact, the supply, distribution, and sales, they are all centered around suppliers. But I would like to talk about some new approach that focuses on consumer and having consumer-oriented approach. I'm sure that you all are aware of the importance of having more consumer-oriented approach. Here you see the contents of my presentation. So my presentation consists of 4 parts: blue food, food for the elderly, alternative food, and conclusion. So these are the topics that I will be talking about, and in particular how blue food and also food for the elderly, how will the future of these food, alternative food, be unfolded. So blue food, as you know, it refers to the foods based on captured or farmed seafood. And in US or in advanced nations, it's recognized as healthy diet. Recently, with the demographic aging and also with the livestock industry under a lot of threats, blue food is now emerging as a great food for the elderly, and in particular the food processing that include blue food, alternative food, and also the food for the elderly. They are now being emphasized as a solution to provide safe and healthy food and also to contribute to the improvement of the quality of life. So regarding the aging-friendly food, I will first talk about the population aging. So we actually experienced a very fast population aging. In 2018, we entered into the age society. Age society means that the more than 70% of the total population are over the age of 60. And super age society means that more than 15% of the population is over the age of 65. So in 2018, Korea became a age society, and by 2025, about 20% of the Korean population will be over the age of 65, and therefore putting Korea in the super age society group. And also by 2035 or 2050, you can see that it is predicted that 40% of the Korean population will be over the age of 60. With aging, there could be various health concerns following. First of all, we could have an eating disorder or a masticatory disorder. So eating disorder can be divided into three groups. The first one is in relation with the mastication. So mastication inefficiency or insufficiency. And we also have a swallowing disorder or dysphagia. And the third one is the digestive disorder, which is caused by the disruptions in digestive organs. As for the masticatory disorders, as you can see from the slide, you see that the teeth are distorted or missing, and also because of these deteriorating functions, dental functions, people have difficulty in masticating, and also the tissues surrounding lips are also changing and damaged. But with the prosthetics and also the implant, things have been improved. And the second is the swallowing disorder or dysphagia. I believe that the many elderly surrounding you, when they drink water, sometimes the water goes into the airway and causing the aspiration pneumonia, and eventually even sometimes the people die. So swallowing disorder could be a serious health concern for the elderly, and again, this could be mitigated by the prosthetic and so on. But swallowing disorder sometimes cause mortality and death, and therefore it can be a pretty serious, dangerous disease. And the third is the digestive disorder. So with the digestive disorder, the essential nutrition could not be properly absorbed and distributed throughout the body, which causes the chronic diseases. And here you see the food tray. Two types of the food tray. One is for the general people, and the second is the food trays for people with the masticatory disorders or dysphagia. For the general public, you see that we just see normal foods, but for those who have the masticatory insufficiency or dysphagia, you see that most of the foods are minced and grounded to make soft. So if you have to be on this kind of soft food diet, then it can actually increase anxiety, and also it could deepen the nutrition imbalance and eventually negatively affecting the quality of life. So these eating disorders can often lead to various types of the chronic diseases. And here you see the prevalence of the chronic diseases for people over the age of 65. And you can see that more than 60% of the elderly population have more than three kinds of chronic diseases. And also 9 out of every 10 elderly, they have at least one chronic disease. So here you can see that eating disorder can be a very serious health concern. And also it can affect the metabolism and also immunity, and therefore make the elderly more vulnerable to infectious diseases and also the chronic diseases, and this could elevate the healthcare expenditure. As of the year 2022, you see that the per capita monthly medical expenditure for the elderly in Korea amounts to 420,000 Korean won. So I have conducted various researches to develop elderly-friendly food. And let's take a look at some researches that looked at the association between the elderly and blue food and how blue food can contribute to the health of the elderly. In particular, some companies or agencies are trying to make blue food softer so that they can be easily absorbed in the elderly to provide the better nutrition. And here you see the Ministry of Agriculture, or the MAFRA's research projects, and they have also developed the various aging-friendly seafood, and about 150 kinds of the aging-friendly foods were certified by the ministry. And many of these elderly-friendly food include the seafood, like the fish and so on. And because of the fish bones, the elderly sometimes find it difficult to consume fish. So here you see that the fish bones are all removed so that they can be easily consumed and conveniently consumed by the elderly. And these are all seafood-based food. So including the porridge with the dried fish and so on. Next is the alternative food or alternative protein food. As mentioned by the previous speaker, this is a protein that will replace the existing traditional protein by utilizing the new material or new processing and manufacturing technology. So one of the key examples for alternative food is the cultured meat and plant-based protein as well as eatable insects. Recently, the alternative food is now drawing a global attention. Why? Because of the increase in global population as well as the livestock industry under a lot of threats. So just by relying on traditional livestock industry, we cannot produce enough meat to fulfill the needs for the global population. And therefore, alternative proteins are now rising in its importance. And as you could see from the recent outbreak of the lumpy skin disease, in fact, we see various infectious diseases for animal and livestock, including the African swine flu and also the foot and mouth disease and so on. And also, the livestock industry produces a lot of waste, including and also the carbon emissions. And therefore, I believe alternative meat will continue to rise and emerge as effective solution to address the environmental issues and also to fulfill the food demands that the humanity has. So there is a growing interest in sustainable food, and therefore I believe the alternative protein will continue to grow in size. Not just the Europe and also the US, the Korean government is also devising policies to promote alternative food. And with the regulatory framework in place, I believe this could facilitate the R&D efforts and expand the market in a quick and swift manner. So various technologies will be developed for this alternative food. And this will eventually lead to the development of the future-oriented food tech industry, which can effectively replace the traditional livestock industry. And therefore, I think it is very important for Korea to secure the technological advantages in this field. Next is about the association between blue food and alternative food. And let's take a look at the relevant industries. For seafood, using seafood as raw material, you can develop various types of the alternative foods. A company here using a plant-based tuna, they developed the new alternative food. And also this is the case of the American company that they use the tomato-based tuna or and also so-called like ocean hunger food. So, and the ISH company, they developed the plant-based salmon burger. And next is about the cultured meat or cultured seafood. As you know, the cell meat, they culture the cells of the dokdo shrimps in order to develop this kind of various cultured sea meat food. And also, some companies utilize seaweeds to produce various types of cultured food. And HN Novatech, I cannot elaborate each of these products. Later, he will give us very good presentation. But anyway, HN Novatech is a pioneering company that utilizes seaweeds to develop various alternative foods. Here you see the conclusion. I believe that blue food is a key contributor to the development of the sustainable food supply system because it has high nutrition value and low carbon emission. But despite these advantages, still we have a problem of the low consumer preference for blue food. So R&D has been lagging so far. But I believe that it does have a great potential for sustainable food. And therefore, I believe that with the blue food, we can develop and establish a very sustainable food ecosystem. And also you have to develop a database to raise the public awareness and also to provide the effective information to those who want to try these blue food. And also we have to conduct various researches in order to prove the nutritional values of blue food and also to refine and improve the foods so that it can have better taste, better textures that could cater to the consumer's needs. And also we have to work hard to promote public awareness for the nutrition and health benefits of blue food. And with that, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Why don't you give him another round of applause for this great presentation. So we have had 2 presentations so far. So we talked about the blue food, food tech, consumer-oriented. So these are the key words for the 2 presentations. And also the functional food, alternative meat, and aging-friendly or elderly-friendly foods. We also cover these keywords as well. So for example, like the personalized food for the patient and for the elderly. And I believe that we have to think hard about how blue food can contribute to these areas.